Hi, and welcome back. This is Real Talk Karen Stacy, and I am coming to you in the coaching corner. And today I wanted to talk about an emotional subject. So, depending on how you were raised, emotions were not always, what's the right word, welcomed, right? I grew up in the Bronx, and we were raised to be tough, never let them see you sweat. You can't show weakness. And, emotions equal weakness, old school. But obviously, some of that is true, in meaning that you have to be mindful of when you show your emotions, because the actuality is that if you are in a situation, there are certain situations where you cannot show your emotions at that time, but you can deal with them later on. So in other words, you're going to acknowledge that you felt that pit in your stomach, that it gave you anxiety, that it did something to you, right? But you're going to have to just kind of put it over to the side for a minute while you handle the situation in hand. So, for instance, my son is 17 years old, and I've always told him, it's crazy, the bullying and stuff that happens in school. He was like, I don't know, 6, and this nonsense was happening. 6. And, he had just lost his father, and I'm over here trying to tell him, not to let his friends see him cry, because they were bullying him, they were picking on him. Jesus, one kid even told him that the reason his father died was because he wanted to get the hell away from him. All right. So this is how disgusting younger children are. So parents, really, we need to teach our kids better, because that's just disgusting. But anyway, I digress. And, so he went through that. Now, I have to validate his feelings. I have to explain to him that was disgusting, that wasn't okay. And I told him that we needed to pray for them, because they clearly were in a worse situation than we were. And that said, he had to go to school feeling a certain kind of way, and then stifling that. And guess what? It definitely took its toll on him. And he had this thing going on for a bit because of this. And he kept bringing more people into his, life that were bullying him. And when we feel a certain kind of way, that's what we're going to attract. So by stifling those emotions and pretending they're not there, that's how these things come to bite us in the ass, if you will. So what do? You talk about it. You find somebody that you can trust, that won't judge you, that will support you, that will love you, while you talk about the things that really freaking hurt. Now, children are different, obviously, because we're forming ourselves and we're trying to figure out things. And children are cruel, but then again, so are adults. So it's all relative. But what I'm saying to you is that dealing with your emotions is a really hard thing to do. So that is strength right there. So not giving into, let me recant that statement. Allowing yourself to feel your emotions is the strongest thing that you can actually do, because you're being true to yourself. And unfortunately, life puts us in these situations where we actually abandon ourselves because it's survival, right? That's really what it is. but we have to learn how to survive without abandoning ourselves, not burying those emotions that give us anxiety, that give us that pit in our stomach, that produces those triggers when something happens and you get that feeling and you don't know what the hell to do. And if you've been taught that the minute you start to feel emotions, your trigger is lashing out at somebody or fighting with them or protecting yourself and being mean and nasty, those are other issues, right? So at the end of the day, what we need to do is be kind to ourselves for feeling what we were feeling, accept what we feel, and acknowledge why we felt that. And if there is a reason that we need to work on inside of ourselves, then we have to recognize that. So I don't know if the situation with my son would have gone the same way if he hadn't just lost his father, right? So there's the issue. He felt lost. He felt, loss, all of these things, right? So you would think that his 6-year-old friends wouldn't be attacking him like that, right? But this is the world that we live in. So you have to be aware of your triggers, why they trigger you, and obviously your surroundings, and learning how to advocate for yourself, but from a place of steadiness and not a place of fight or flight and bravado. Does that make sense? If this resonates with you, I hope it did, and feel free to comment, share this with someone, it may help. And if you want to join a conversation, Real Talk with Karen Stacy, the Facebook group is a private place to discuss these things, and I hope to see you guys there.